live from the Coachella Valley. Time for another hour of the desert scene. Art exhibitions to modernism, music festivals to live theater, big screen, little screen, and very little screen. This is the Culture Corner with Bonnie Gilgallon and Brayan Mendoza. Here's Bonnie and Brayan on iHub Radio.
And we are back on the Culture Corner. We're now joined, we're going to switch gears a little bit, joined by a wonderful author, Carolyn Gross, who has a new book out, Rise Above the Chaos. And she, again, was someone who is flexible because we had to postpone this a couple times. Hi, Carolyn. How are you?
Hey, Bonnie, we got it together.
Yay, finally. Yes, finally we got it together. So I wanted to have you on because I thought you are one of the perfect people to talk to right now. You know, we're just talking earlier, we're moving slowly, I think, out of the negative into the positive. We have a new administration, we've got a vaccine, but it's not going to happen overnight. So, tell us a little bit about, I love the title of your book, Rise Above the Chaos. Give us some advice, some tips on how we can stay positive and sort of navigate this change into hopefully a brighter day. What would you tell us to do?
Well, first of all, you're right. We have seen a glimmering of hope and, that maybe just like we've had some stormy weather recently, that, maybe the sun is starting to peek through the clouds. One of the things, we have been through a global defining moment. Mm-hmm. And also, and defining moments are the big ones in life, right? Yeah. I mean, so when we have them individually, it's like leaving the area, separating from a spouse, a significant loss. Those are huge defining moments that change our lives. A cancer diagnosis, you know what I mean?
Right.
Here we've had one where, not just our country or not a couple countries, right? Everything but New Zealand mm-hmm. has had this defining moment. Now, the thing about defining moments is they do have an aftershock, right? Mm-hmm. They have an after effect. So I think what we have to do is we have to be grateful that the rays of sun are starting to beam on us and maybe open up a little bit more and we can make more money and get a little closer to each other, mm-hmm. right, hopefully. But we also have to not think that we're just going to be on the other side of the rainbow overnight because I think our world and our lives are being redefined.
Yeah.
Don't you?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And one of the things I love that you said here is now more than ever, what we are putting into our mind matters and focusing on doom and gloom. Let's talk about that a little bit.
Well, absolutely. What I said, because I touch my, readers and audiences and clients' lives a couple times a month via email with a motivational message is, we've got to be bold and rise above the chaos. And we've had so much negativity in the news because of our global crisis mm-hmm. that we've really now, with the rays of sun starting to come through, we really have to kind of set our own course, I think, in terms of what are we going to do? How much of our lives are going to be changed? How much remote business are we going to be doing? Are activities going to be lessened? And how can we adjust to that so that we're happy inside and not mournful? You know what I mean?
Yes. Yeah. And also
proactive rather than reactive.
And
proactive approach.
And words matter also. That's not something that, in addition to yourself, but also I'm a big Louise Hay and Wayne Dyer fan, and they talk about, what you think about, you bring about, and words matter. The power of your power of your speech. If you're always saying, "Oh, this is awful," and "I'm stupid," and "It's terrible," and then you send out that kind of energy. Would you agree with that?
Well, that's why I call chaos the great teacher in the first chapter of my book, because I've done work one-on-one and, with organizations, with companies and individuals that were having these major life-defining moments. And so, initially people feel so victimized or, how could this happen to me? Why me? And what have you. And I ask people, just turn the lens a little bit and say, what can this crisis, what can this life change teach me?
Yes. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And then we're not feeling horrible. Students don't, now again, we can't say every class, but students don't feel like, oh my God, I have to go to school. Now we know there's a little bit of that in a teenager, but we usually want to learn, right? Because we grow when we learn.
Yeah. Yes.
We become more useful when we learn.
Mm-hmm.
So the more chaos you've had in your life, if you take this approach, the more skills you have.
Yep. And I have found, Carolyn, the people that I know, and of course, if you've been kicking around for a number of years, hopefully you start, and that in my own experience, I've been through some tough times, as we all have, but the people that I love and I respect so much and that I want to sit next to at a party are the folks that have been down in the pits and have climbed their way out and have learned a lesson from it and have not become bitter and angry about it and have become more empathetic and have your hearts grow and become more understanding of the human condition and less judgmental of others.
Absolutely. And that's the rise above. That's the rise above the chaos message is it essentially you kind of get a new set of wings. Some people, my first book was Staying Calm in the Midst of Chaos. And I wrote that before the events of 9/11.
Yeah.
So here I was, a first-time author, but because of 9/11, I was able to tour that book across the country. And so what happened was I realized that each stressor that we had in life gave us, an opportunity to soar, right? You can sink or you can soar.
Right.
And then, as you know, my book tour, because we've talked before, my book tour got canceled when I found a lump in my breast and I was diagnosed with stage 3 breast cancer.
Oh, my gosh.
You know what? Even during these last 10 months in COVID, I've been like, you know what? I was able to rise above cancer 18 years ago. I got to rise above COVID.
Yeah.
See what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
Get those wings. Get those wings. Now, everybody can do it in their own way, I was coaching a new client the other day, and she lost a daughter in a car accident at 17, and it was all of 4 minutes between the impact and that child being gone. There was nothing that could be done.
Yeah.
But see, I was talking to her about other chaos in her life, and she was going, oh, the divorce, not that big a deal. And I'm like, gosh, most people divorce a big deal. But when you've had a loss of that substance that she had, come on. You know what I mean? Nothing tops that. But see, she did survive. And so there, she's got this greater ability, and we were talking during the COVID, and she wasn't down in the depths because, again, the worst that could possibly happen had already happened. To her.
Yeah. Let's talk about divine guidance. And I know, some people, I know there's some people, everyone has their own beliefs about the higher power and that kind of thing. But I have really found that you got to have something. You have to have something to believe in, to turn to get through times like this.
What's amazing is that is something that I always kept more personal because I have been doing this work a while. But I noticed that we have been struggling so much with depression and just so many losses that you can't even look at it. How many restaurants, how many people, furloughed, and how many hotels closed, and will these businesses come back? And how it just goes exponentially, it overwhelms us. Well, you know what? If it overwhelms us, we can't solve it. So that's where there has to be. I call God a power booster.
Okay.
So if people don't want to say higher power, they don't want to say God. Do you know what I mean?
Right.
But if it's Buddha or if they believe in angels or whatever, but we need power boosters right now. See, we kind of know it.
Yeah, absolutely.
These problems we have, they're just too much bigger than us. And a lot of people in this last year paid not only for our country more than ever, but for civilization.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So we were all praying anyway. So why aren't we talking about it? You know what I mean? We're not trying to convert anybody in this radio show, but we can talk now about divine guidance, can't we, Bonnie? Even if you and I aren't of the cloth, we're not clergy,
Right. And the other thing that I have found in my personal journey, and then I think other people is gratitude. Even if you wake up in the morning and just are grateful that you're alive, grateful that you have a cup of coffee in the kitchen, grateful that the sun's out. I mean, sometimes just find something to be grateful for.
You know, with so many people being concerned about money and wealth and resources, right? Because a lot of people were hit all at once.
Yeah.
I actually say, if you have your health and you had your health these last 10 months, you're rich beyond measure.
Yep. Absolutely.
You're
especially
rich
now.
Beyond measure.
Yeah.
And also, if you have your health, you can always make money.
Yeah. So one way or another, you have to. Yeah, sometimes you have to be creative and proactive, and you might have to kind of shift your plans a little bit and be innovative about how to do it. But yeah, there's always you're right. If you're alive and you have your health, there's always hope for to try something new. Absolutely. What do you think gets in the way? What gets in people's way when they're trying to get to this place to rise above the chaos? What are some of the big stumbling blocks you've seen?
Well, it can be the circle of friends. If people around them are pulling them down or just negative and aren't wanting to see chaos as the great teacher. Oh, well, it'll never be like it used to. It'll never be like it used to.
Yeah.
The good old days are gone,
Yeah.
And it's like, well, wait a minute. No, look how resourceful we've been. Also, if people have limiting beliefs. And I think in COVID, we found that in all of ourselves. You know what I mean? We found some limiting beliefs there. We're always going to have them to work on, but we can grow through them.
Yes.
Yeah. So challenge your limiting beliefs. Challenge people who don't want to see a silver lining coming from this.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think this COVID, the lockdown, if you will, it's really it's been in some ways a great opportunity for people to grow spiritually and go within and figure out, why am I really here? What's my real purpose? Maybe the path I was going down before wasn't quite right, and now is a good time to reset. I mean, as terrible as this virus is, and as awful it is as businesses closing and restaurants closing, I think it's been a great opportunity for people to really, and also cherish their relationships, cherish the people that they love, but maybe look inside and figure out if they need to change something.
See, now you're leading me to my work, because this is what I do with people and with clients is rise above the chaos. If chaos is the great teacher, well, then it's actually asking us to redefine our lives.
Yes.
And boy, are you right. Are you right? This COVID time, this lockdown time, you really did know what part of your life is just not working anymore.
Yeah.
And what's that dream you've always had? If it's a trip, or if it's to write a book, or be in a play, it's time to get
cracking
class and writing class.
Well, Carolyn, we're running short on time. Where can people get your book, Rise Above the Chaos? Where can they get it?
Absolutely. CreativeLifeSolutions.com and riseabovethechaos.net.
Fabulous.
Some of my coaching and series that I teach online. So, Bonnie.
Excellent. Thank you so much for being here, Carolyn. Thank you for being flexible, and wise words for this time. We really need it. Stay safe out there. Continued success, okay?
Hey, and now I live in the Coachella Valley, so I'll meet up with you sometime soon, okay?
Okay, thank you. All right, Carolyn
Bye
Gross.
now.
All right, we'll be back with more in the Culture Corner in just a bit.
The curtain rises on local and regional arts and entertainment. From music to theater, films to fine art, it's the Culture Corner. Get connected. Call 760-544-TALK. That's 760-544-8255. Here's Bonnie and Brayan on iHub Radio.
Hey, welcome back to the Culture Corner. We have a lot of television news right now.
All right.
And let's get started. So Law & Order SVU, the showrunner, Warren Leadon, has said that they're going to try to hire every Broadway actor to guest star on Law & Order SVU.
Great idea.
Because they've been unemployed because of the pandemic.
Yeah.
And there's a good chance that right now they have a thing where they're trying to open by May, but there's a good chance they won't.
Mhm.
There's not a lot of like enthusiasm towards the idea that that's going to happen.
Yeah.
So having these actors show up on Law and Order SVU, I believe, exposes them to much bigger opportunities.
Sure.
Like the movies, and it's not that uncommon for Broadway stars to be on TV.
There's a lot of people cross over all the time.
Like
yeah,
Bernadette
yeah.
Peters has been on TV a
Oh
couple
yeah,
of times.
Mandy Patinkin was Broadway and television. Yeah, absolutely.
And so I think that's a great opportunity, and I really feel that I feel really happy for them, because honestly, a lot of theater actors are struggling because
absolutely
they want to get back out there.
Yep.
And the sad thing is that maybe a Zoom play, sometimes may not be as rewarding to an actor as like a production, like a TV show, but not even then might not be as rewarding, but at least it's something.
And you're getting a lot of exposure. A lot of people watch those television shows, so you get a lot of people. Some people can't afford to go to a Broadway show, and so but they can turn on the television and watch Law and Order. So yeah,
and especially considering that television.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's talk about Sex and the City revival.
Okay, so Sex and the City is coming back. Sarah Jessica Parker posted on Instagram, and just like that. That's the name of the series now, and just like that. And it's now going to be on HBO Max for only 10 episodes, and they're going to have everyone except one person,
Kim Cattrall. Yes.
So there's been a lot of debates, and me and Bonnie talked about it earlier, that there seems that it's very difficult to tell what is the real story between Kim Cattrall and Sarah Jessica Parker's.
How much of it is hype and the press blowing up a feud? I mean, apparently they've had some differences, but like Brian said earlier, maybe Kim Cattrall just decided it was time to move on and go do something else,
No, that's what I speculated that, because I felt that, she had talked about self-care on a Twitter post around the time the show was announced, and I thought, that's probably the reason. I think she no longer feels that Samantha is a necessary character for that formula. But to be honest, the movies kind of killed it for her. She had said that she said no to Sex and the City 3 because they had a storyline where Samantha was going to be sexually harassed by another character's child. So Miranda, I think it was Miranda. Yeah. Miranda's son was going to sexually harass Samantha,
and she didn't like that storyline. She thought,
she thought it was gross, and she thought that the idea of Samantha kind of playing around with the idea of maybe sleeping with an underage person doesn't sit well with her. And I gotta say, thank you to her for not doing that.
I kind of agree with her. Yeah, there's a lot of other storylines you could have come up with. Yeah,
because I thought that it was kind of disappointing that the most sex positive character, like, you can do so much with that character, and it doesn't have to be let's have her have sex with everything. That character went through breast cancer on television. That character had a meaningful relationship with a man on the show, and the movies, in my opinion, retroactively took out a lot of things. Like they had characters cheat on each other when they didn't need to. They had really bad situations, and the sad thing is that the person who wrote the TV show also wrote the movies, and Kim Cattrall kind of felt the show ended just fine back in 2004. You don't need to
don't need to revive it again. Yeah.
And I'm kind of on the fence of a revival. I would like to see Sex and the City. I think that there's a lot of opportunity for shows about older women on television, especially shows about sex. And I was happy that the L Word came back, because a lot of lesbian women felt like, oh great, this is a show about my demographic now, because the L Word got a lot of flack back in the day for being about young lesbian women. So for me to see a show about older women would be great. And I think a lot of sex has changed. Sex changes every decade, so why not? Yeah. But other than that, I'll check it out when it comes out. But
and we also talked about this before. It's unfortunate that the press and critics, a lot of people like to see, there's something voyeuristic about seeing female actresses get in fights with each other. They're always hoping there's going to be some kind of feud, That's
what they did with Charmed, and a lot of times I think it's very difficult to, like Dynasty, those Linda Evans and Joan Collins got along, but they kept
they wrote in a
rivalry and all this stuff.
Fights, yeah.
And one last thing, America's Most Wanted is going to be coming back with Elizabeth Vargas.
Oh, okay. I like her.
the
Yeah, she
host.
used to do a lot of Dateline, so that's a good choice. Yeah.
But some people may be asking, what about John Walsh? Well, he approved the project, but he's not going to do it because he's already doing another project for Investigation Discovery with In Pursuit. So I say good for him and good for Elizabeth Vargas. And I think that show should have always continued. I never understood why they canceled it because I think it is important to.
And they found a lot of criminals through that show.
Justice was served,
Yeah.
and especially the fact that it was very authentic. Because John Walsh was someone who wanted justice, so he understood.
He knew that. Yes, he knew what it was like. Yeah.
So I'm happy to see that Elizabeth Vargas is going to do it.
Yeah, I like her.
Seen
I've
a
always
lot.
liked her. Yeah, she did great with Dateline. All right, Charles Herrera is coming up in our next segment. Yay! We'll be right back.
You're listening to Bonnie Gilgallon and Brayan Mendoza, talking arts and entertainment on iHub Radio's The Culture Corner. Live from the desert cities of Southern California, here's Brayan and Bonnie.
And we are back on The Culture Corner, and we're now joined by my buddy, Charles Herrera. Perhaps.
Hello.
Hello. I think he's perhaps the best male singer in the desert, but he's certainly right up there. He's a very talented guy, and a nice guy too, and humble, and not. He could be a real, diva attitude guy, but he's not. Why is that, Charles? Why aren't you a diva?
Oh, believe me, I there's no reason to be a diva.
I'm sure you have your moments. We all have our moments.
Well, I have my moments, but I'm a diva against myself, actually.
Okay. All right. Well, Charles, of course, was one of our featured singers on the Christmas show, which was great. Thank you again for doing that. And he and I work with this group called PS Alive that hopefully down the road when things open up, we'll get rolling with that again. But the main reason he's on today is to talk about the 10th anniversary concert, Desert Ensemble Theater Company, called Brighter Days, coming up a week from today at 7 p.m. So tell us about that. Who's in it? How did it come about?
Oh my gosh! Well, this is actually our 10th anniversary concert. However, we do concerts as benefits to kick off our season. Almost every year that we've been in existence. And so this is basically we usually do the shows in the fall live, but unfortunately, because of all that's happened, we had to push it back, and we decided to do a virtual benefit concert this year.
Okay.
Because of we can't get together in person.
Yep.
So it stars Desiree Clark, Jackie Davis, Jerome Elliott, myself, Jacob Samples, and Lizzie Schmeling.
Okay.
And all wonderful singers. Everyone's going to have a great time. It's such a great show, such a great variety of music. And both all the singers sing 2 songs. It's a very short concert. Each of the singers sings 2 songs.
Okay.
And and the tickets are on sale now. And it's going to be streaming the entire weekend of February 5th through February 7th. You can purchase your tickets and watch it when you can.
And it's streaming on, is it Vimeo? Is that what it's called, Vimeo?
It's Vimeo. Yeah, Vimeo, Vimeo. It's going to be streaming on Vimeo, and the tickets to see it are $20.
Okay,
and you can purchase the tickets. Go ahead. Oh, okay. I was just gonna say you can purchase the tickets by going to the website. It's www.detctheater.org.
Okay, and what was I going to say? I forgot. Oh, this is a benefit for DEC's Theater Internship and Scholarship Program, correct?
Yes, it is. It's for the scholarship program and the internship program of the theater. And during the shutdown, we had to convert the internships because usually the students are working during a production, and that's how they earn their internship. because of the shutdown, what we're going to be doing is we're going to be doing a series of online webinars for the students with industry experts. We'll have actors, we'll have other people in tech people talking about what they do, like set designers or costume designers. And it'll be little webinars for the students to actually, go online and actually watch and learn a few things. And it'll be more interactive. They can ask questions of the speaker, and so that there'll be a nice interaction between the speaker and the students.
Excellent. Do you know some of the folks who are going to be doing the instruction yet?
We do have a couple of people. I'm actually one of them.
Okay, I was going to ask that. Okay.
Yeah, actually, I'm going to be talking about my dubbing work for film.
Excellent.
Yeah, and I actually do have a couple of names, just to basically give them the, how I started in the biz and how, and what it is that's usually that we do for as far as dubbing films into another language. Let me see. I've actually got there's some great people coming in to talk and to share their knowledge of the industry, and I need to find it here and talk amongst yourself. Okay. For acting, we actually are bringing in Anthony Mark Barrow. He's a teacher at UCLA, and he is also a working actor. He worked at the National Theater in the West End.
Excellent.
Yeah, working with Shakespeare. He's a voice actor, a film actor, and he's going to talk about the different methods of acting.
Okay, super.
Yeah, and for technical, we have James Crace. He's worked for Marvel and for Disney. And he's going to discuss set and prop building.
Okay.
We also got Tom O'Brien. He's a scenic designer for television. He worked on Friends, the TV series.
Okay.
We have myself. We have a woman by the name of Catherine Irvin. She's a professor at Cal State San Bernardino, and she's a former president of the Black Theater League. She's also a theater director, and she also likes to work in non-traditional casting.
Okay. Excellent. Well, what a great...
So we've got a really... Yeah.
Nice variety of people. Yeah. Tell me about Lucy Schmeling. She's the only one in the cast of your concert that I don't really know. Has she done a lot of stuff with DETC?
Not with. Actually, this is the first time she's appeared with us, and as well as Desiree. Desiree Clark is also the first time that she's been with us. And I think Lizzie has done quite a few things with the Palm Canyon Theater. Okay.
Yeah.
But yeah, she's brand new for us.
Okay, and so she's
marvelous.
Okay, and now none of this is original music, is it, or is this all songs that people know?
No, it's not. No, it's not all. It's mostly songs from Broadway, standards, and there's a couple of but it's mostly Broadway and standards.
Okay, all right, and now
but it's great stuff.
You're now on the board, correct, of DETC?
I am. I'm now on the board of directors for the Desert Ensemble Theater. I am their secretary, but I take notes.
Is that fun? Do you like taking the notes, Charles?
Oh, I do. No, but yeah, I am the secretary of the board, and I just started, so it's all so new, and it's all just wonderful, and I can't wait to really get my teeth into it, and it's just such a great experience.
So can you share with us, or I don't know how much how much has been formulated about how, I just was asking Michael Shaw this earlier, what's the game plan for DETC as far as going forward in summer and fall and next season? I know it's hard to plan because we don't really know, what's going to happen.
It is hard to plan. We're trying to set our sights on the fall. To hopefully by then we'll be able to finally open up and do some more live theater. In the meantime, what we're going to do is we're just going to start doing online stuff and virtual stuff. We've got some a monologue series coming up.
Oh, good.
In March. Okay. And basically it'll be actors from all over the country who will be performing monologues online.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah, so we've got that coming up, and for now, we just have to stick to doing things virtually, unfortunately.
Yeah.
But we are setting our sights for the fall, and we're going to have a great season. We'll probably bring back the plays that we were unable to do last year because of the pandemic.
Yeah.
And maybe start off with some of those and get those on the boards.
So how have you Charles Herrera, where everyone sort of had their own method of getting through the last, I mean, it's going on a year. March will be a year since everything's shut down. How have you been staying sane and not losing your creative enthusiasm, if you will?
Well, I have to be honest. I mean, over the last year, I feel I haven't felt inspired at all. I've just felt, kind of, just kind of with the walls closing in, you're just kind of like, you just don't feel inspired.
Yeah.
But now things are looking up, and I'm getting more inspired now, and just wanting to do more and more stuff, and just staying connected to people is really important. Even if you don't get to see them in person, just staying connected to them, and just talking things out if you have to.
Yeah.
And just feeding off of each other for creativity and for inspiration.
Yeah.
I think that's been the most important thing.
Now, are you someone who, I mean, and you've got this incredible set of pipes. Are you somebody that, do you like vocalize every day, even if you have nothing coming up?
No, I'm kind of lazy that way.
Okay.
But yeah, if I have something coming up, yes, I will definitely vocalize, and I'll work on it. But I do have to be better about that, and I just haven't, like I said, I haven't been inspired.
Yeah.
Usually I do, and I was doing a lot of singing before we shut down, and I kind of, it just kind of just went away, and it so did the inspiration, unfortunately.
Yeah. So I know we've talked about this a little bit before when you've been on the show, but talk to us a little bit about your dubbing. So that went away too. I mean, is none of that done like online? You have to be there in person?
Well, most of that's usually how it works. However, I have been able to do what they call remote supervision. So I actually did one project back in September that I was able to work from home and do it. And I would be online with Mexico on live, and while the actors were in their homes recording, there'd be like 3 different stations, and we'd all be just I'd be super listening to them as they're recording the lines, giving direction when I could. But yeah, it was an interesting experience. That was the first time I've ever done something like that. But it worked.
And now your particular skill set is the dubbing and translating from English to Spanish. Is that correct? That's kind of your main focus?
Well, that's what I've been on for the last several years. I've been to France and worked in France for about a couple months, and I've been to all over Europe and Asia. Granted, I don't speak those languages, but I was I did the supervision, and I was able to you're able to do it because you can tell a good performance when you hear it.
Okay.
Whether you know the language
or not. That's an interesting observation. So are there a lot of people, Charles, who do this, or are you fairly unique? Is there a lot of people running around that doing this kind of dubbing?
Well, it's fairly small. It's a small community, and there are people who are more well known in that particular business than others. But it's a fairly small community. Most of us know each other, but it's fairly small.
Yeah. So when things open up, in addition to you're on the board of DETC, and I'm sure you're doing stuff with them, do you have a dream show? Do you have a cabaret show, a Charles Herrera one-man cabaret show in your head that you've been planning that you'd like to get out there?
Oh, I've got several in my head.
Okay.
Well, yeah, I do have a couple of things, that I'm working on, and my partner Jeff, he's actually also working on the show as well, and because he's a singer, he's a Broadway performer, and so he's, so yeah, we're both trying to get our juices flowing now, to get our. Get off our butts basically and get back to work.
Now, do you have a couple of songs, just duets you'd like to do together? And Jeff's a super nice guy, by the way.
Oh yeah, no, absolutely. We've actually talked about it, and thinking, because we love singing with harmonies. Yeah. So we've actually talked about different kinds of songs that we want to do, and so yeah, we've talked about that as well, definitely.
All right, Charles Herrera is one of the stars of Brighter Days, the 10th anniversary concert for DETC, coming up a week from tonight, 7 p.m., Friday, February 5th. Tickets $20. You can go to www.detctheater.com or org.
.org.
.org. Sorry. Okay.
.org.
.org.
That's okay.
All right. Well, listen.
And it will be streaming all weekend. It'll be streaming all weekend, the 5th through the 7th.
And by the way, conceived and directed by Jerome Elliott, our buddy. Thank you, Charles.
Yeah.
Love you. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All
Love
right.
you too.
Stay safe. All right. We'll have
You
more
too.
with the Culture Corner in just a
Great.
moment.
You're listening to Bonnie Gilgallon and Brayan Mendoza, talking arts and entertainment on iHub Radio's The Culture Corner. Here are Bonnie and Brayan.
Hey, welcome back to The Culture Corner. Bonnie actually wanted to talk about a TV show that she's very enthusiastic about.
Nicole Kidman in this series, The Undoing, which was on, what did we say?
HBO Max.
HBO Max, and I saw it at my friend Sharon's house. That it was six episodes, I believe. Just really so well done. Hugh Grant played her husband and played kind of a bad guy, which is unusual for him. Donald Sutherland was her father. Just very well written, great story, a superb acting. The kid that was their son, their 12-year-old son, amazing. There's a woman who plays the husband's lawyer. Just really, really, really well done. Great story, great acting. So I highly recommend it if you can catch it.
And we're talking about this because Nicole Kidman's going to star in a Lucille Ball biopic.
And some people are upset about that.
That's true.
They don't think it's the right casting, but...
Well, they had a preference for Deborah Messing, and I get it. I do want to give Nicole Kidman a chance to do it because I think she can do it. But I understand why a lot of people had in their mind Deborah Messing because when you watch her on Will and Grace, you can see it.
You can see that. Yeah, and her comic chops and all that. Yeah.
But, it's another interesting casting decision. There is another casting decision, but I'll save that for next week. I'll tell you about one that came up. But we got to pay tribute to Cloris Leachman and Cicely Tyson.
Yeah, some greats that we lost. Yeah. I mean, both long. I mean, I think Cloris was 94 and Cicely was 96. So great long lives. I got a chance to interview Cloris Leachman a few years back at another radio station. She was crazy, wild and crazy gal. She was a fun interview. Yeah.
I imagine, and she really does seem like a really authentic person. I've seen her in interviews, and she seems like not only a really fun person to talk to, but very pleasant, I imagine. And I loved her in the Mary Tyler Moore Show when she played Phyllis.
Yes.
That I'm going to say very perfectionist character. And I loved her in Young Frankenstein, but her best performance, in my opinion, was in The Last Picture Show.
Oh, yeah. Wow.
And I think the first time I saw her was in Malcolm in the Middle, where she played the very racist, bigoted grandma who...
Yeah, I never saw that show.
But she won an Emmy for that. She actually won 8 Emmys, including a couple for Mary Tyler Moore, 1 daytime Emmy, and then a couple for Malcolm in the Middle. So she's won a couple Emmys.
Quite a career. An
Oscar for Last Picture Show. So if I would say that if you want to see a couple of her work, Last Picture Show, Young Frankenstein, and Mary Tyler Moore, the first 3 seasons are the ones you should watch.
Yeah. And Cicely Tyson, what an amazing talent and life. And wow. She just, I mean, there's so many things that she did. Well, the life and times of Miss Jean Pittman, was that the
name? The autobiography of Miss Jane Pittman.
Okay.
And then Sounder, which in some ways that movie is very groundbreaking because it was one of the first dignified portrayals
for an African American
black families. And funny enough, it was directed by a white director, but because it was so good, no one brings that up as sort of a talking point because it was that authentic. And Cicely Tyson had this thing where she always wanted to take roles that meant something to black folks.
Right.
And she inspired so many black women. Cloris Leachman, in her right, inspired a lot of women to get into comedy and to really get eccentric. Yeah. And Cicely Tyson inspired black women to even go and seek out meaningful roles because a lot of her roles could be degrading, but the fact that she was very wise and was very selective showed that when she had her stamp on it, it meant that this is a role that black people should be proud of. Like when she played Kunta Kinte's mom in Roots, she could have played any other part, but she chose to play that part. And it's such a wonderful performance. And I loved her in Marva Collins, which is a story about a black teacher who helps out a inner city school.
Yeah.
And what I liked about that compared to other things is that that story doesn't have the unfortunate implication of like having a white teacher talk down to black students. I like the fact that she chose a part in which a black woman inspires students to do better. And I think that's really powerful. And she did the couple Medea movies. There's this great monologue in a Medea movie where she said what it means to be a man, in particular a black man. And I'm gonna be honest, Tyler Perry movies don't have the best writing, but if Cicely Tyson gives you the lines, she really knew how to save that. And just a couple things, she won 3 Primetime Emmys, and one of them was for Jane Pittman, which is considered by many one of the great performances of television. Yeah. And she won an honorary Oscar for her work.
And I believe I think she was married briefly to Miles Davis.
Oh yeah,
back in the day.
And she was married to him, and it was. I
think it was pretty stormy, as I recall.
I was gonna say, like, funny you bring that up because I actually got her memoir, and I got an autographed copy of her memoir, and I ordered it a couple of days because she actually was signing copies for Barnes and Noble, and I got one, and I had a feeling I have to get the autographed copy. Yeah. And then she died. I'm like, oh, wow, that was a sign.
Wow,
that was something. Yeah. Perfect timing, but. She had talked about how that marriage was just.
Well, he was abusive, as I've read. Yeah, he was kind of an abusive guy.
That's what I heard, and I heard she talks more about it in her book. So when I read it, hopefully I can probably say.
Did she have children? I don't know if she had children.
I don't think she's ever had children. She's one of those people that was very career oriented.
Yeah,
and you know what? That's great. And it's funny because like both of these women are mostly famous for their careers and the fact that they set in stone like opportunities for women. At least I would say so. Would you say so?
Absolutely. And somebody, I mean, my partner Eric says this, but I'm sure he wasn't the first one to say it. Somebody, the kind of the mark of a life well lived is leaving a footprint larger than your own behind.
That's true.
And they certainly both did that. I mean, what an amazing career and Cicely Tyson, the thing other than enormous acting talent, the word that just always keeps popping into my mind from what I've read is class. And I very, very well respected. I've never heard anybody really say anything negative about her.
You know, these women showed the world what it means to be a real class act. Cloris Leachman being very authentic and real, but Cicely Tyson being very wise and very stoic. And I think that for me, when I see Cicely Tyson on screen, it feels like she's like your grandmother. Like that's how it is. I've had a lot of black folks tell me that it feels that she is the unofficial black grandmother. Grandmother. And every time she's on a movie, more of my black friends know her from like the later roles when she's an older woman. And to be honest, even in Sounder, she was reaching her 50s. So a lot of people forget that she was not only a very powerful presence on screen, but she was very beautiful, and she broke a lot of beauty standards. The fact that she cut her hair short and decided to do like an afro, and that she didn't care. She said, it's going to be all natural. We're not going to we're not going to emulate white
She was her own person. That was the impression I always got.
Also, I was going to say that if anyone's interested, she has a book out. Check it out. She ghost wrote it. Someone ghost wrote it with her, but it is out, and hopefully there's some autographed copies at Barnes & Noble, so check it out. Hopefully.
All right, so great to be back in the behind the mic here in the Culture Corner. All right, we'll be back next week with some more entertainment news and great interviews, and thanks, Brayan. Everybody stay safe out there, and we'll see you next week.
Hey, stay safe and have a good weekend.